Hey, welcome to Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. This is us talking about the Big Ten in the college football playoffs, presented and brought to you by FanDuel. Here, as always, with Zach Guggenheim to talk through three Big Ten matchups in the college football playoffs in the final eight quarter. What do they call this? The quarterfinal, semifinals, quarterfinals. I never get the finals stuff made right. So, hey, before we get started, please do like, subscribe if you're on podcast, give us a 5-star rating and review. Zach and I are going to break down each and every single Big Ten playoff game this week, and then we'll also talk through a little bit of the Georgia and Ole Miss game and give our predictions on that one as well. But first, let's go to Zach. Zach, thank you for filling in with you and Jeff. How you doing?
Good. It was fun being with Jeff last night, and our man Max saying this is probably the last Big Ten Huddle live stream of the year, and I think he's probably right. Happy New Year!
It is not. I'm going live tomorrow night after the USC game.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say I'll be awake after that. I'm gonna try to be. If I am, I might join you. If not, well, Max knows it best.
We'll
Sleepy
see.
Zach.
Yeah,
Sleepy
I was gonna say, keep your energy for the Ohio State game on Wednesday night.
Yes. Yeah. Will we go live after that game?
Yes, I plan to do that one as well. Yep.
Okay, this is good to know. Good to know.
So,
we should have talked about before the show started.
Well, I was late getting in, so that's one of the reasons why the stream started late. So let's see what we got here with us. Doc P. Iowa. Hello, friends. What's up, Doc? Appreciate you being here. Frosty Mug says Indiana rolls, Ohio State rolls, Oregon rolls. You know my dreams, Frosty Mug. Appreciate you being here. And look at this, Asian Posh Doreen. Hey, guys. Hey, Doreen. Thanks for being here. And yes, Max, as he always knows, Sleepy Zach. Yes, very good. Well, hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, future Happy New Year, happy college football playoffs. We're gonna have a lot of fun breaking down these playoff games, talking about each and every single one. Zach, which one are you most excited to see?
Well, I mean, I'm a Buckeye fan, so I'm most excited to see the Cotton Bowl.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I think if I take my scarlet colored glasses off, it is the Indiana-Alabama game. That is, I think it is the game that I think will validate the Hoosiers. They should be validated already, but the fact that there are still national types that are like, Alabama is so much better than Indiana. They need this win to validate beyond the Big Ten. I think everybody that follows the Big Ten, like Joel Klatt said, it would be a massive upset if Bama beat Indiana. But you got guys like Pate and others who are still not buying into Indiana. And so I'm excited to see that game, excited for them just to be in the Rose Bowl. I think that's going to be must-see TV.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be fun. Let's go to start with that game because it is a huge game. I personally don't feel like Indiana needs to win the Rose Bowl where they're favored by 6.5 on FanDuel, over under at 48.5 over Alabama. I personally don't feel like they need this to validate them. As much as the SEC loves to talk about, point spreads and everything else, you would think a point spread would validate it, but no. I had an Alabama fan respond to me on Twitter and said, well, Oregon was able to get 81 yards against Indiana on the ground. So just imagine how many yards Alabama's going to get. And I just responded and said, Oregon is the second highest yards per rush offense or running game in college football. Alabama's 125th. And he said, well, easy schedule. Apparently that's where we're at right now. The Twitter's not real. The amount of people that have no idea what they're absolutely talking about, it's just not real. Zach, this is number 1 Indiana, 13-0 Big Ten champions going against number 9 Alabama, who has 3 losses. Indiana is favored by 6.5. Clash of blue bloods in terms of 2 different sports, if you want to talk about it that way. Alabama, blue blood of college football. Indiana, blue blood of college basketball. So we could actually say clash of blue bloods, right?
Yes, with an asterisk. Yes.
True.
Yeah.
Well, I want to bring this stat up first, Zach. Indiana is number 1 in the nation in more stats than Alabama is top 10 in the nation in stats.
So which stats are we talking about?
Like just common stats: point differential per game, turnover differential, penalty yards per game, passing touchdowns, and passing efficiency. Indiana is all number 1 in the nation. Alabama, with just like, and some of these are stretching it, so I'm doing my best here, but these are just like commonly found stats. This isn't like PFF or anything. Alabama is top 10 in touchdowns allowed, 23. I believe they're 10th. If I wrote that down correctly. Passing yards allowed per game, 168.4, and interceptions thrown percentage. That's it. That's all they're top 10 in.
Interesting.
Which actually, now that I think about it, I got that interception thrown percentage from teamrankings.com, and they threw 2 interceptions against Eastern Illinois. So maybe they're not. Because Team Rankings doesn't take out the FCS stuff. They just do the the FBS. So
it's interesting looking at it's the FRMO index, the FEI. You know, Alabama fans coming at you for strength of schedule. Indiana's strength of schedule, according to FEI, is 13th. Like Alabama's 4. So yeah, like Indiana has they've had one of the toughest schedules in the country. Like nobody's debating that. But people who keep saying that Indiana hasn't played anybody, I'm like, what planet are you on? Because they have played some very good teams. They just haven't played the volume. But Indiana arguably has they have 2 of the 3 best wins this season. The only other win that compares is Georgia by Alabama, but that was early in the season. Indiana went on the road to Oregon. They beat Ohio State in a neutral site, which admittedly was way more Indiana fans than Ohio State. But still, all this junk about Indiana not playing anybody and having an easy schedule, it's garbage. It's not real analysis. And I think when you're talking about the statistics, I think the thing that's easy, I think in the past it'd be easy to say is like, well, but the Big Ten is not at the same caliber as the SEC. Their schedule's not at the same caliber. And 5-6 years ago, you could make that argument. Now, with who Indiana has played, you can't make that argument anymore. They still have done those things against top tier competition. So I think there is real validity to what you're saying with the statistics.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Indiana has 2 top 10 wins. Alabama, they had their one over Georgia. I believe Georgia was top 5 wins. I believe Georgia was a top 5 team when they beat them. But like this is what we're talking about here. They want to go by the rankings, and then they don't want to go by the rankings, and then they want to go by their made up statistics, which, I saw somebody put in on Twitter earlier today. This is a made up statistic. And they were like, what? How dare you? These are legit statistics. It's like, no, actually, every single stat out there is just made up. One of the things that doesn't get pulled often for a Big Ten team is how many hitting yards a Big Ten team gets in a game. One of the reasons why teams like Minnesota and Iowa hardly ever receive as much, statistical, benefit as other teams do is because they don't run plays the same way that other teams in the SEC do. Obviously, they go after special teams yards and return yards, things like that. They field position is a huge thing for them. Anyway, this is an Indiana preview. I'm not trying to get after that stuff, but it's all garbage to try and do these strength of schedule things and everything else. People just don't know what they're talking about. And it's one of the reasons why I feel like Indiana's going to win this game. Alabama has many, many issues on this team that, for whatever reason, Alabama fans just do not want to acknowledge. One of the main ones being Alabama's run game. They stand no chance against Indiana's front seven. And I'm not just saying that as a Big Ten homer or anything like that. Literally, the stats, the statistics that all these SEC fans want to talk about Go look at them. Because when you have guys like Isaiah Jones, Aiden Fisher, and Elijah Hardy, I believe I'm saying that right. These guys are all fantastic linebackers. They are all able to stop. They've all been able to stop the run all season long. They've been great in coverage. At least Aiden Fisher has been the best of them all. But Indiana, their front seven has by far the best havoc rate in the country. Their team has the best havoc rate in the country on defense, but by far the front seven of Indiana has the best havoc rate in the country. A lot of people want to say, oh, Indiana's not seen an offensive line like Alabama because they're really big. But in all reality, the only good run blocker on that Alabama offensive line is Caden Proctor. Really, nobody else is all that outstanding as a run blocker. Really, nobody else is. I don't think really anybody else will be able to block the Indiana guys one-on-one, which I never thought I'd be saying this 3 years ago, but this is where we're at. Indiana's front seven is elite, and in all actuality, I don't think Alabama's seen a front seven like what Indiana has.
Yeah, and the thing that really concerns me for Alabama is the thing that you're talking, like one of the main things that Alabama has always been good at is a strong running game. People are talking on Twitter about Ohio State's run game being bad. Have you seen Alabama's run game?
125th in the nation in yards.
It is. Now, Jam Miller, if he gets loose, is a stud, right? Like really good running back. But he's got to get loose. And they can't. I mean, watching them against Georgia was laughable. It was laughable. And we're going to talk a little bit about Georgia Ole Miss at the end of this, but and I don't think it was as much good Georgia as it much was how ineffective Alabama was. And so if Bama has a chance in this game, they've got to essentially lean on their passing game. And I'm just not sure that Ty Simpson is going to be able to have enough time to be able to make enough plays. I think he will get his. I thought I was encouraged by how he rebounded in the second half against Oklahoma. And like Oklahoma defensively is good. But again, they have not been Brent Venables, when he was defensive coordinator at Clemson, he was so good at disguising. But I think as the head coach, he has not been able to do as much. And I just don't, I think teams have kind of figured him out defensively. And so he's got elite talent, but I think Brian Haynes, and I forget who mentioned it on the chat. Man, Brian Haynes is a mad scientist. That dude, there it is. If you know anything about this staff, you'll know Brian Haynes is having fun on Twitter before the game, and the staff is very confident. And he has been talking smack on Twitter. It's not just the personnel, but it's the disguising and the play calling. And that's where I'm like, this is not Bama of old. I don't know how Bama is going to consistently sustain drives. Like, that's the thing. I think they might get a couple of big plays, but consistently driving the field without a run game, that feels near impossible to be successful against this Hoosier defense.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama can get some like 20 plus, 30 plus yard plays. And honestly, that's been one of Indiana's biggest weaknesses on defense, is how many big plays they can give up. But like, Alabama sucks at big plays. Alabama is outside the top 120. I just said they're 125th in yards per carry. They're outside the top 120 in 40 plus yard plays. For people to be coming after this game saying, oh, this is a terrible matchup for Indiana and everything else. Like, this is another big thing in the game that people are not talking about enough, is how, yes, Indiana can be susceptible to big plays. Doesn't mean they always are, but this is what you have to do when a defense, when a defense is really, really good. You have to try and find minute little things in their defense that they're not very good at, or that it could be a possible weakness for them. And this possible weakness that Indiana has of the big plays just so happens to be something that Alabama is not able to do all that super well. And then on the flip side of it, you look at it, Alabama, their clear weakness, one of their clear weaknesses on defense, because they have multiple weaknesses on defense. Merry Christmas, Kirk Cinetti. You can go out here and attack that defense in 5 different ways, because John Mateer was finding guys wide open downfield. I'm pretty sure Fernando Mendoza's going to be able to find him wide open downfield. But Alabama is 50th in allowing 10-plus yard plays. I'm not talking 40-plus yard plays, 10-plus yard plays. Alabama is 50th in allowing those. They are 85th in allowing 20-plus yard plays. It just keeps getting worse and worse the way it goes. In Indiana, they are really, really good at executing, not plays, run plays. 50th in 10-plus yard runs, 85th in 20-plus yard runs. Indiana is 15th in 10-plus yard runs this season. Indiana is 12th, tied for 12th in 20-plus yard runs. So if any team's going to come out here getting the big plays, like, don't get me wrong, I think Fernando Mendoza is going to have a good day. I would not be surprised if this running back room of Roman Hemby and those guys back there, if they just keep breaking off 10, 20-plus yard runs in this game, and you see 5 or 6 big explosive run plays in this one, because Alabama has shown this entire season that they can't stop.
That's where I might push back a little bit, because I think statistically you're right. But what have we seen when Indiana has had to play any team in the top 30 of Sagarin? They've struggled a bit to run the ball, right? They've looked very good to run the ball against anybody not named Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Iowa. But as soon as they play a team with at least somewhat great to elite talent, I'm not saying they have an elite defense, but there is really good talent on that defense. There has been a bit of I don't want to say a breaking point, but there has been a little bit of a freeze point, which I'll borrow from CFB Nerds and Josh Pate. And that's maybe where I'm a little concerned for Indiana is, now, let me caveat this. If they're doing what you're saying, I mean, it's over. Like, forget it. Like, Indiana wins by 17 plus if they can't stop the run game. I am not sure that Indiana will be able to run as effectively despite what the statistics say, because I do think the talent level on Alabama's defense is better. It is more in that Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon tier than it is anyone else they've played.
I mean, sure, the talent level it is, but what do we get screamed at by SEC fans all the time? Oh, the talent in the SEC is just so much greater. But what do we see year after year? Them underachieving with that talent, right? I mean, at a certain point, yes, I agree with you. The talent, Alabama has elite talent on their team. They have 9 5-stars, I think somebody said, on this team. You have all the 5 stars in the world you want. Indiana doesn't have any 5 stars, but they're still out here. Their players are playing like 5 stars because they're better coached, because they have better production, and they're better at executing, being able to play against these guys. So yes, like 5 stars, I agree with you. 5 stars, talent wise, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that Indiana's going to go out there and score 45 on them or anything like that, but I can totally see Indiana breaking off 5, 6, 10, 20-plus yard runs in this game and getting 150 yards on the ground. And if you look back at those games against Iowa, Ohio State, Penn State, you look at sack-adjusted yards, they've been right there in between like 110 and 140 for most of those games. So it's not out of the question to think that Indiana could come out and run really, really well against this Alabama team as well, who is 34th in the nation in yards per carry, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that really fast. I believe, 34th in the nation in yards per carry allowed.
Okay. How many points do you think Indiana has to score to win, like to guarantee victory in this game?
I mean, 24.
Okay.
Because I don't think Alabama's going to run the ball well enough.
Yeah.
And also, you have to take into account. Sorry, were you going to say something? I was going to switch gears to something else.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you have to take into account that Ty Simpson is almost guaranteed an interception or 2 in this game. Indiana, they have the best turnover differential in the country, and Ty Simpson has only thrown 5 interceptions on the year. That looks really good, right? That looks really good. But when I tell you how many turnover-worthy plays he has 15. That is worse than. Hold on, I had it here. Where did I have it at? That is worse than. Oh, I didn't write it down. Unfortunate. If I remember off the top of my head, that's worse than guys like Aiden Childs, Dylan Raiola. I'll just have to pull it up here in a second and read off the list for you. But that would be fourth in the Big Ten. That would be fourth most turnover worthy plays by a quarterback in the Big Ten. In the SEC, it's the seventh most because the SEC just doesn't have as good of quarterback play as the Big Ten. I know that's crazy for some people to hear and say, but it's true.
And this is again, I'm playing, I don't want to say devil's advocate, but I am playing but what if Alabama plays at their potential? Because I agree with you. Ty Simpson he's been very inconsistent, right? And I think that is the story of SEC quarterback play all year, not just Alabama. Like Gunnar Stockton has been good, but I mean, you go back to the Georgia Tech game, he was awful, right? So I am with you that I think if the averages play out, then I think you're going to see a couple turnovers. Ty Simpson, though, there's a reason why scouts are saying he's a first round level quarterback. And that's where I think my concern comes in if I'm a Hoosiers fan, which, believe it or not, I am rooting for the Hoosiers in this game. I know Indiana fans are saying Zach doesn't like us. I actually really like you. I think this is the best story in college football. But this is why the talent level does concern me, both defense and offense. If law of averages plays out, then yes, Indiana should win. They're the better coach team. Fernando Mendoza is going to be the best player on the field. But this is not a game where Alabama is so much, and this isn't what you're saying, but is so much worse that they can't punch up. Like they have the talent level to turn it on for a game and blitz you. They have it. They have wide receivers that can play. Again, Jam Miller has not gotten loose a lot because that offensive line's bad. But if Miller gets loose, Ty Simpson can play really good football. And so I think that's the danger is, can Alabama put together a complete game for 4 quarters? Because if they do, that's when Indiana could really get into trouble.
But even if you look at the best Alabama's been, it's still not been as good as Indiana.
Yes, but I think, again, I don't know if I would agree we've seen the best of Alabama. I think we've seen moments, we've seen stretches, but I don't think we have seen, like, and to your point, we have not seen them capitalize on their talent level.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to base my pick based on what I've seen this season. I understand exactly what you're saying and I hear you, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to base my pick on a what if, I'm not going to base my pick. And I know you're not either. I'm just saying, like, to me, the whole, like, what if that happens? Like, nobody was picking Ohio State last year. What if Ohio State forgets how to play offense against Michigan and, doesn't make a single field goal, not a single field goal. They made one, but doesn't make multiple field goals. Like, that's just such a what if that it's like, I think if Indiana loses this game, it would not be Alabama winning. I think it would be Indiana losing because they don't play up to themselves. I think that's honestly probably the bigger what if, but I'm not going to go with it. I'm going to predict Indiana wins this game 27-13. I have them covering. I have them scoring less than I thought I would, but I also feel like Kirk Cinetti, first game of the playoffs, I think he knows he has tougher competition coming than Alabama. And I don't think Alabama is going to be like Illinois to where they can run the ball like 19, 20 times straight at the end of the game and just put up, what did they put up? 60 on them or something like that, 50, 60, however much it was. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Alabama would at least be able to hold them to that much. So 27-13, that's my prediction. What's your prediction, Zach?
So how many points did you say that Indiana needs to score to win?
I mean, if I'm being generous, like 24.
I've got Indiana 24-20.
Okay.
That's
you got a little bit closer than I do.
Yeah, I do think people, and I think we've done this too. I think we've undersold Kalen DeBoer a little bit, and I think he's going to have his guys ready to go. I I think they can play a card that Bama rarely can play, which is the disrespect card. And I, motivation. Once the ball is kicked off, who cares? But I do think you're going to see a juiced up version of Bama. And I think it's going to be a competitive game. I think Mendoza is going to continue to show us why he is arguably going to be the number one pick in the draft.
Yeah, I think he is. Traits, everything else, it all works for him. So,
yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next game here, Ohio State and Miami. And you want to talk about a team that's feeling confident. The Miami fans, at least the ones on Twitter, are feeling really confident. I saw Michael Irvin was on a podcast and said that Ohio State has not seen a offensive line and defensive line like Miami yet this season. Yeah, okay.
Someone needs to show that to Josh Pate, because Pate was like, nobody's saying crap about Ohio State.
After that.
Yeah. Good job, Josh.
Yeah. So Ohio State and Miami rematch of the Fiesta Bowl back in 2002 national championship game. I know they played in 2012 again there, but this is a postseason game. So bring back a lot of memories there. Ohio State, number one nationally in scoring defense, total yards, pass defense, and adjusted EPA per play. Miami, some of their best stats, number 4 in sacks nationally, number 6 in scoring defense, and number 10 at yards per game allowed. Ohio State is also number 6 in yards per carry allowed and number 2 in third down conversion rate. A lot of really good stats there for both of those teams. Zach, what are your thoughts? Well, let's save defensive line. What are your thoughts on non-defensive line pieces of this game? Because I feel like everybody only talks defensive line in this game for Miami because it's the best part of their team. Miami's going to have to win some other way than just having a good defensive line.
So Miami has been a weird evaluation for me because up till a couple days ago, every time I watched Miami, their play jumped out to me. And I'm like, dang, they're really good. They're fast, they're flying to the ball. And then ironically, I was listening to a conversation between Josh Pate and Colin Cowherd, and Josh Pate used the word violent. And I was realizing, I think my impression of Miami has been that they are really athletic all over the field, when in actuality, they're just violent. And violence is great unless if you're not good enough to use that violence. And that's where I've come to, particularly everywhere outside of the defensive line. I think they're a really good football team. And I maintain what I said. I think they are the 5th best team in this tournament. I think they're better. And I think you can make an argument that they're the 4th best team in the tournament. Again, we'll get to Georgia, Ole Miss, but that's my theory at least.
Right. I think when you look at matchup wise, it is one of the tougher matchups for Ohio State when you look at defensive line and some of the issues that Ohio State has had, what has caused them issues the past couple of years and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I need to remind people, one of the reasons why Ohio State lost that Indiana game is because they weren't able to convert in the red zone. And I don't think people understand that Miami is not Indiana. Yes, Miami has an excellent defensive line that might be the best defensive line in the country. It's at the very least top 5. But just because they have a great defensive line doesn't mean they're going to hold everybody in the red zone. Indiana has the number 1 red zone defense in terms of touchdown rate in the country. They are allowing touchdowns only 27.27% of the time in the red zone. That's phenomenal. By far, number 1. Miami, their red zone rate is 53.33%, and they're 29th in the country. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Miami of Ohio. Miami of Florida is 53.37%. 30th in the country. So they're not even the best Miami team at stopping teams from scoring touchdowns in the red zone. All right, I get it. Miami fans, low blow. But still, all right, I thought it was funny. They were right next to each other there, so I wanted to bring it up. But you see what I'm saying? Like, this idea of like Miami's just going to stop Ohio State just like Indiana did, and don't even bring up the Texas game. Like that is such a different game than what we're playing now. For people to even bring that up, it completely invalidates anything they would say in the future because of the way that game was played to first time starting quarterbacks and everything else. But for Miami fans to think that they are somehow Indiana coming out here in this one and they're going to stop Ohio State and just not let them do anything like that. Ohio State was still able to move the ball in Indiana. Indiana was just really, really good situationally. And unfortunately, for Miami fans, they are not nearly as well coached as Indiana is.
Well, and I think the thing that people are missing. So it's funny, right before coming on here, I rewatched the Big Ten championship game. Julian Sayin settled down big time midway through the third quarter. And part of that, I think, was that Gabe Van Sickle slid in. He played a really good game after he came in for Tegra Shabola. Not saying that he's the savior, that he's the fix-it guy, but I think he was sacked 5 times. And then I think they had 3 drives in that next 15, 20 minutes. And they were playing slow, plodding, but effective. They nullified the pass rush. And I think they figured things out. If they convert on 4th and 1 and they convert a field goal, we're talking about Ohio State being the 1 seed and playing Bama. But that's not what happened because of several things. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Ohio State, but I think people are mistaking, to your point, one, Corey Heatherman's a really good defensive coordinator. He's not Bryant Haynes.
No,
that's one.
Not at all.
Second, and this is for Michael Irvin because I know he listens to our show. Ruben Bain and Mesidor, they are the best tandem that we have faced. I don't think it's a considerable jump from who they've faced previously. They've faced Colin Simmons. They've faced Denai Dennis Sutton and Zane Durant and Chaz Coleman. They've faced Barham and Derek Moore, right? Forget Indiana. They have faced other really good pass rushing teams. It's Indiana they threw a lot at Julian Sayin and they confused him. And you combine that with their pass rush, that's what made it so difficult. Do we really think that's going to happen again? I don't think so.
Well, and also Indiana's linebackers too. I had another thing I was going to bring up before this, but this is my hot take of the entire podcast, and I know I've already given out a few with Alabama and everything else, but my hot take is this season Ohio State doesn't struggle with good defensive lines. Ohio State struggles with elite linebacker play. I think they struggle with front sevens more than the entire front seven than they do really good defensive lines. Ohio State this season has had less than 3.5 yards per carry and 0 rushing touchdowns in 3 games. Those 3 games were arguably the best 3 front sevens that they faced. Texas, Indiana, and people are going to crap on me for this, but it really is one of the best front sevens in all of college football. Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin has a better defensive line than people realize. Their offense was just terrible this season. And then on top of that, they had guys like Mason Posa, Cooper Catalano, and Christian Allegro go absolutely, do absolutely crazy things in that game against the run. Now, Ohio State went out there and just decided to throw the ball over Wisconsin. That's why it was 34-0. But still, Wisconsin stopped the run in that game, just like Indiana was able to stop the run. And one of the reasons why was because Elijah Hardy made 2 or 3 shoestring tackles on Bo Jackson. And that's not me saying Ohio State would have won or anything like that. That's me saying that's elite linebacker play from one of the best linebackers in the country. Elijah Hardy doesn't get enough credit for it. He really is one of the best. And I don't see a guy like that for Miami. Ohio State played 2 other really good defensive lines this season, in Penn State and Michigan. Neither of them had elite linebacker play. Now, Michigan did have Jimmy Rolder and Cole Sullivan. Those guys are pretty good, but those guys still have some room to grow, right? They're not Anthony Hill Jr. They're not, Isaiah Jones. They're not guys like that. In Penn State, they struggled with linebacker injuries all season long. Miami, I'm sorry, Miami fans, like you're gonna hate me for this. Wesley Besant, Mo Toure, which I loved Mo Toure when he was at Rutgers. He has not been good this season. He has not been good for them this season. Yeah. They have a combined 27 missed tackles. Ohio State starting linebacker Sonny Styles has 0 missed tackles on the season.
Yeah. Could you make the case that and this is going to sound crazy, but could you make the case that Toure is their best linebacker and he has not played well?
Oh, he's by far their best linebacker, I think.
Yeah.
And he gets missed in the run fit all the time. He misses his run gap and his responsibility, sometimes because other guys are missing their responsibility. So, but really the guy that stops the run, I don't know if it's the best for this Miami team, is their slot corner, Keontae Scott. And I just think going up against Ohio State, your slot corner being one of, I mean, obviously the defensive line stops the run. This is what I'm talking about here, though, is you get past the defensive line, who do you have behind them? Keontae Scott's your best version that you have back there, and Keontae Scott is going to be dealing with 2 really tough things from Ohio State. Ohio State has really good blocking tight ends, which that could be minimized if the tight ends have to help on the defensive line, which I expect that to be the case. But the other thing they have is, guess what? Jeremiah Smith to put into the slot, Carnell Tate to put into the slot. If Keontae Scott is lined up over Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate and he goes to, stop the run, Jeremiah Smith is on a safety for Miami. I trust Jeremiah Smith over the safety every single time. There's not a safety in the country that could cover Jeremiah Smith. There's not a safety in the country that could cover Carnell Tate, in my opinion.
And I think that's ultimately going to be the difference in the game, because I think, Ryan Day is becoming more and more of a, not just a master game plan guy, but like almost a master manipulator. He knows that Jeremiah Smith is playing his hometown team. I don't think Jeremiah Smith, I would assume Jeremiah Smith gets at least 10 touches in this game. I think he at least has 2 touchdowns in this game. And I think it's going to be fun, Malachi Toney versus Jeremiah Smith. But I think the receivers are gonna eat. I think Ryan Day knows now that it's playoff time, it's time to let the horses run. And I think I think they're gonna eat, and I think they're gonna eat a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And the other piece of this too is the defense for Ohio State. Man, don't get me wrong, Mark Fletcher had a really good game against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
But Mark Fletcher is not going to beat Ohio State by himself. Malachi Toney is not going to beat Ohio State by himself. Carson Beck is not going to beat Ohio State by himself.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, or not people don't understand. I don't think people remember where Matt Patricia came from. Matt Patricia came from the Patriots, which his entire, the Patriots' entire thing was, we're going to take away your best player. Your best player is not going to beat us. Matt Patricia has beautifully brought that with him to Ohio State. I mean, and you could even say in the Ohio State Indiana game, they did a really good job of taking away some of Indiana's best players in that one, because Indiana only scored 13 points. Now it could, would have been 16 if they got the field goal, but still, that's a really low scoring game, right?
Yeah.
What has Matt Patricia done all season long? He's taken away Ryan Wingo. He's taken away Denzel Boston. He's taken away Damon Williams. He's taken away Hank Beatty. He's taken away Andrew Marsh. Andrew Marsh had 0 receptions for 0 yards against Ohio State in that Ohio State-Michigan game.
Yeah.
And as far as Mark Fletcher goes, man, I'll talk about Mark Fletcher in a minute. I'll let you respond to that stuff because same time you want to respond.
Well, I was just going to say, I think the thing that I was rewatching the Big Ten championship game. The thing that stood out to me, and again, this is why Mendoza is so great. Mendoza made a lot of conversions because of his mobility and decision-making. And I remember just watching these plays and thinking, Beck is not going to be able to do that if he's under pressure. Like, he's going to get sacked or he's going to force a throw. And that's where this defense is going to thrive. I mean, I'm trying to think the last time they played a quarterback in a big game that was not mobile. I'm not sure they have in a big, maybe, well, Grunkmeyer, and that wasn't really a big game against Penn State, but it's still Ohio State, Penn State. And I mean, they got after him. And I think that, to your point, this is one of those games where they can say, hey, you've got thoroughbreds at the linebacker spot. And it's time to unleash Arvell Reese in that pass rush. It's time to unleash Sonny Styles in that pass rush. And then I think, to your point, you're going to Mark Fletcher. The difference with, and Fletcher's a really good back. Like, is he the best running back they've faced this year? He might be. Although I think obviously Singleton and Katron Allen would have something to say about that. Jordan Marshall, he was hurt when they played him against Michigan. But I think you could make a case that, at least from an athletic profile, Fletcher could be the best back that they've gone against. But I don't know if that matters, because you have the best interior lineman in Caden McDonald, the best run-stopping defensive lineman in Caden McDonald. You have the best linebacker duo in the country. I just don't think he's going to. If he gets a couple of big runs, fine. I think he has to have at least four runs of 10+ yards to really matter. And I just don't think he's going to get there.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you, and like I kind of hear your thing about Mark Fletcher being really good, but I don't know. Ohio State's faced better backs than him this season. Jonah Coleman. I mean, Darius Taylor played in that Minnesota game. Katron Allen.
Offensive line combo with it, though.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, I mean, I guess you have to combo the offensive line in there to do some of that stuff. But even then, like, I don't think people understand how fraudulent Texas A&M has been all season long. They played the entire bottom half of the SEC, and the SEC is not nearly as good as some people want to try and tell you that it is. But Texas A&M, 68th in the country, 12th in the SEC in yards per carry allowed, allowing 4.19 yards per carry this season. Ohio State is number 6 in the country, allowing 2.83. And that's really close to the top. That's not like some big far and away thing. So, yes, Texas A&M wasn't able to stop Mark Fletcher, but Texas A&M is nowhere near stopping the run like Ohio State is going to be able to do. They don't have Caden McDonald, who is the highest graded run defender on the interior of the defensive line in all of PFF. Highest graded the entire season. Normally highest graded is somebody that's played like 200 snaps or something. Caden McDonald's played all season long. He's the highest graded one. Sonny Styles, like I said, not a single missed tackle this season. I don't know where this idea from some people came from that Arvell Reese can't stop the run. Arvell Reese is great in the run. He's fantastic. Now in coverage, not the best, okay? I'll admit it. Arvell Reese, not the best in coverage, but sometimes that can also be misconstrued with some of his QB spy work and stuff like that. So, maybe I don't know if PFF is always realizing some of that stuff, or people watching the game is always realizing that stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, Mark Fletcher is not going to have the day. Zach, hot take, I would be surprised if Mark Fletcher had over 50 yards on Ohio State. I think he probably gets 20, maybe 30 yards in this game.
I'm not willing to go that extreme, but I would if the over under, I would set the over under at 60.
That's fair. And I would take the under.
I might take the over just because I think part of this is game flow too. Like, how does this game play out? Because if Ohio State gets up, or if it's like how they played a year ago against Tennessee and Oregon, and they get up quick, there is a chance where they could take Miami completely out of their game flow early. And that means that Fletcher won't get the opportunities. I'm still not convinced that they're gonna just flip a switch, because we haven't seen it all season. Like, we saw glimmers of it a year ago. I'm still wondering if they're going to be the same suffocating style, just with a little more firepower. Um, but I do wonder, like, I wonder if Fletcher has a stat line like 17 carries for 62 yards or 19 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown. Like, I could see something like that where Miami's in it for a while and they're able to hang. But that ultimately Ohio State puts the game away in late third quarter or mid fourth quarter.
Yeah, Max is right, everybody. Hit the like button for us. Get my family to Disney there. Thanks, Max. Always appreciate you coming in with that one. I don't think I said this at the beginning, but Ohio State is favored in this one by 9.5 on FanDuel. Over under set at 41.5. I hear what you're saying, Zach, and I do think Miami's going to get a touchdown in this game. I don't think it's going to be like an absolute just destroying of them. I think Miami's going to find a way to get at least one touchdown in this game. I think that you have to respect Malachi Toney. I do think that even if Ohio State is able to shut down Mark Fletcher, they still have a very good offensive line, like you're talking about. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has, 30 yards on the ground, 40 yards on the ground, and a touchdown or something like that out there. So, are you ready for my score prediction?
Do it.
All right. My score prediction in this one is 28-10 Ohio State. But I reserve the right to say if Ohio State goes crazy with some tempo and some of that kind of stuff, I think this could look like the Tennessee game. I think we are seeing a lot of fake tough guys out there. Not on the defensive line for Miami. I think Miami's got a lot of really good players on the defensive line. But Tennessee also had a really good defensive line. And they weren't able to help out their defensive line enough. Ohio State was able to put up 42 on them. Now, they were at home, so I don't think Ohio State's going to put up 42 again. But I do think it's possible that Ohio State gets closer to 40 than they do 30 in this game. But I'm gonna be conservative and say 28-10 Ohio State.
I think there is a possibility for that too. I will say I do think Miami has the pieces to upset Ohio State. But I think Ohio State's not going to settle for field goals. I think if they are anywhere in the 20, they're going for it on fourth down. I do not think Ryan Day trusts his kicker, nor should he. And I think they're going to score touchdowns, and Miami's going to mostly kick field goals. I've got 28-16.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think Ohio State's going to be going for field goals in this one.
Yeah.
Especially not after unless it's like 4th and 10 and they get sacked or something like that, which I could totally see Miami getting a sack or something on, 3rd and 4 or something like that. But we'll have to see. So, all right. John Jacobs was in here asking about the Indiana game. There you are, John. Said predict the IU game. Yes, we did the beginning of the episode. So, John, if you want to go check that one out at the very beginning there. So,
yeah.
All right.
Two things I'll just say before we get to Oregon, Texas Tech. Jeremiah Smith was being interviewed today at Media Days, and he said that Miami reminded him of Indiana, and then he said, "We're going to see Indiana again," which it signaled to me he thinks Indiana's the best team they've played. I think he thinks they're better than Miami. And so I think that gives me a little more confidence heading into this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Indiana's got the better roster overall over Miami and the better coaching too. So I would completely agree.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to Oregon, Texas Tech. Oregon favored by 2.5 in this one. Over under set at 51.5 on FanDuel. This is a very interesting game, Zach. Oregon coming off the win over James Madison. Some people skeptical of Oregon with how the defense, the secondary in particular, played in that second half. However, there was some other stuff too. It wasn't just all the defense, but overall, the defense kind of being the focus. This is Texas Tech's first college football playoff appearance under Joey McGuire, and Oregon, it's their third straight. I think it's their third straight New Year's kind of bowl game type of deal, whatever it is, those kind of bowl games there. So exciting stuff for Oregon. They obviously do not want the same result as last year in the second round. I don't think Texas Tech has the offense to do that to them in this one. I think this is going to be more of a defensive game just by looking at the statistics. Texas Tech leads the FBS in takeaways. They're tied for 6th nationally in sacks, second in 20-plus yard plays overall. The nation's best run defense and allowing 2.3 yards per carry. Oregon, on the other hand, their offense averages 12.5 yards per reception, with Dante Moore number 1 in 20-plus yard plays in 91. That's kind of funny seeing the 20-plus yard plays, top two in this one. And then the nation's second best run offense and the best pass defense in the nation. Zach, what are your thoughts as Oregon is getting ready to face Texas Tech?
So this is my hot take. I have the highest margin of victory in this game because I think Texas Tech is a fraud.
Wow. Going after the Big 12 like that.
Well,
we treat the SEC like this. I'm just joking. Go ahead.
Well, and I say that I've watched a lot of Texas Tech today. And the thing that fraud is actually the wrong word. They win in a particular way because they have to, which is very similar to what Ohio State has done to people, which is to suffocate the life out of you. The problem is they don't have a Jeremiah Smith or a Carnell Tate or a Julian Sayin. And in fact, their offense stinks. But if they can get on top of you and keep you from scoring, then it doesn't matter. They've played one good quarterback and one really, really good receiver. And that was Sam Leavitt and Tyson, the wide receiver. And in that game, Arizona State won. Yes, Texas Tech was playing a backup quarterback, but that backup was not bad. Like I was going into it thinking, oh, like the backup quarterback stunk. He did not stink. Arizona State had nearly 400 yards. And the thing that killed them was downfield passing, mobility at the quarterback position, and being able to stay on schedule. What can Oregon do? Well, do you have a good quarterback? Yeah, you have a guy who is arguably one of the top 2 in the country in Dante Moore. Is he mobile? Yes. Does he have downfield passing threats? Yes. Abundance. And guess what? I don't think Texas Tech can score on this defense. I think JMU is actually better equipped to score on Oregon than Texas Tech is. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to them, but I just don't think this is a good matchup for Texas Tech, especially with Oregon having Sadiq healthy, having DeCorian Moore healthy, getting Gary Bryant back healthy. And we don't know about the status of Evan Stewart. And then you mix that with their running game. I think Oregon's going to get on top of them early. And I think they're going to take Texas Tech completely out of their game plan.
This is interesting because you are with Texas Tech similar to how I am with Alabama. And then I am kind of like with Texas Tech the way you are with Alabama. Did I say that right? But basically kind of the inverse there. I think this might be the closest game in the college football playoff second round, because I do think that some of the things that Oregon is really good at, Texas Tech is also good at. And I think some of the things that Oregon is bad at, Texas Tech is also bad at. And so I think it's going to be kind of one of those things where it's like, who can do their strength better and then who can overcome their weaknesses better. Oregon's run game, we know it's elite, right? I mean, we've talked about it all season long. I'm very curious to see how they're going to be able to scheme away from Jacob Rodriguez, because Jacob Rodriguez, I mean, I watched some Texas Tech games like you did as well. He jumps off the screen every single time in run defense. He always knows his fit. He is excellent. He is one of the best, if not the best. I mean, he won the Bendrick Award, so he can definitely be claimed to be the best linebacker in the nation. And I do think that some of the teams that Oregon has faced with their run game have had linebackers who struggle. a little bit more. And that's one of the reasons why. I'm not saying anything against Oregon. Oregon has a fantastic run game. It's second best in the nation. But I do think sometimes they benefit from not as good of linebackers. Iowa doesn't have as good of linebackers this season as they've had in the past. USC had bad linebacker play this season because their coach wasn't doing a great job with them. So I'm really interested to see what does this Oregon running game look like against excellent linebackers. Ben Roberts, he's excellent too. He's not Jacob Rodriguez, don't get me wrong, but he's excellent too. And so I am curious to see the run game of Oregon, but I think it's the passing game of Oregon that is going to elevate them. Even if the run game of Oregon is not, super exceptional like we've seen, it just has to be good. That's all it really has to be. So that way the passing game can work, because Texas Tech has not seen a Dante Moore this season. No. Texas Tech has not seen somebody as efficient as him. He has, all the credit to Dante Moore since that Indiana game. He has just completely skyrocketed his game, his efficiency, his ability on third down. He's done a phenomenal job. And then the other, I'll let you speak to the run game and the Texas Tech defensive run defense before I move on to the next one.
No, so nothing you're saying I disagree with. And I think that's the hard thing when calling Texas Tech a fraud. They're not a fraud. But I think if I look at Oregon and their ability to attack downfield, they face nobody that can do that to them. Like Arizona State's the closest to that. But and in that game, Tyson actually pulled his hamstring a little bit. Like he was not 100% healthy. And he was still getting, they had 3 receivers get at least 25-yard receptions in that game. I'm like, man, I totally agree with you. Like Jacob Rodriguez, he deserved every bit of the Bednarik. Phenomenal player. But I just don't. This is why I think it's a bad matchup. Is I think Oregon can do things to them that nobody else on their schedule has been able to. And up to this point, even against Arizona State, they had to play from behind, but they never got into a hole. If Oregon puts them in a hole, it's over.
Do you think with the connections, because a lot of people are talking about how Corey Heatherman, used to be at Indiana, he's going to help Bryant Haynes and all this stuff and everything. He used to be with not he used to be at Indiana. He used to be with Stignetti. So he's going to help them. Kenny Dillingham used to be with Dan Lanning. Do you think he?
Oh, I'm sure Dan Lanning is giving him a call.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, help us out. What were you doing over here? I do think it's going to be really interesting because Texas Tech does a really good job of getting to the red zone. Their problem is they do not do a great job of converting in the red zone. Like I said, they are second in the nation in 20-plus yard plays overall on offense. It's not just running in. It's not just passing in. They're second in the nation in that. They know how to move the ball down the field, especially in chunks. Maybe they're not always the chunk that's going to get them into the end zone on a 60-plus yard play, but in chunks enough to be able to get them down to the red zone. The issue is they're 96th in the nation in touchdown rate. But then the issue for Oregon is they're 120th in the nation and allowing touchdowns and touchdown rate allowed. And so you have this dichotomy here of what's going to happen. Is Oregon going to keep Texas Tech out of the red zone, or are we going to have a red zone battle in this game where it's a team that's not great at scoring touchdowns in the red zone and another team that's not been great this season at stopping teams from scoring touchdowns in the red zone? I think it's going to be, if Texas Tech wins this game, I'm not going to pick them to do so, but if they win this game, that is going to have to be what they do. They're going to have to continually get to the red zone and convert those red zone attempts into touchdowns, because I believe they have the second most. Yeah, they have the second most red zone attempts this season of any team, and they haven't even played a game that some of these first round playoff teams have played.
But do you trust their personnel to be able to march the field on this Oregon defense? That's where.
Well, that's my next point, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's just Baron Morton, he's fine, right? 22 touchdowns, 4 picks, 2,600 yards. Will Hammond is back up. 680, 7-3. They have a good back in Dickey. Williams is his backup. He's got close to 800 yards. So, I mean, they've got a good running back tandem. My evaluation of their offense is they're fine. And you've got to go up against an explosive defense with really good players at every level. And I know I keep saying this, that's my big concern. Like, Morton's not particularly mobile. 37 carries for negative 81 yards, aka like he's not a dual threat guy. And then you're talking about putting him up against guys like Tiote and Uyunglele, and you've got why can't I think of the safety that's back there?
Dylan
Thieneman. You've got Brandon Finney, who's played great ball for them as a freshman at corner. Like, I just look at each level of their defense athletically, and I'm like, I just don't see that offense being able to move the ball regularly.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think one of the reasons why I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball regularly is not necessarily. Well, I shouldn't say that. I just think Oregon's going to be really disruptive with breaking up passes, and I think that Oregon's going to get at least 2 picks in this game.
Yeah.
Aaron Morton only has 4 interceptions on the season, like you pointed out, and that's very good. Don't get me wrong, but he's kind of like Ty Simpson, where he has 13 turnover-worthy plays this season as well. So you've got kind of a dichotomy here where, yeah, he doesn't have all that many interceptions. And I would argue that, and this is no disrespect to the Big 12. I actually think the Big 12 is a better league than a lot of people give credit for, but I just don't think anybody in the Big 12 is on the level of Oregon's pass defense. And I think Oregon's pass defense, as much as we want to talk about Dante Moore and all this stuff, I think Texas Tech hasn't seen a pass defense like Oregon yet, and I could see Baron Morton throwing at least 2 interceptions in this game, and that really hinders them. And if not even 2 interceptions, I think they could fumble the ball in this one as well. Texas Tech's running back, Cameron Dickey, or one of their running backs, I should say, he has 3 fumbles on the season. Oregon's running back room, you're talking Jordan Davison, Vier Hill, Noah Whittington, that stable of backs they have there, they have 1 fumble on the season. And Texas Tech is gonna have to get some turnovers in this game because I don't trust their offense enough to not turn the ball over.
Well, and to that point, in that Arizona State game, I mean, and against Utah too, they were punching. I mean, they coached their linebackers to punch the ball out. So, I mean, they are ball hawks, and I think that is, if this game is closer, if Texas Tech wins, it's because they are plus in the turnover margin. And they're looking for turnovers. But again, that's always a concern to me when it's like, how are you going to win the game? Well, we got to win the turnover battle. Okay, you've got to be really good to make sure you're always winning that battle, because often turnovers can also just be like it can be a crapshoot. And so if that's your pathway to victory is solely we need to win the turnover battle, I don't love that for Texas Tech. Going back to your schedule analysis, this is the thing that has struck me a lot, just even looking at Texas Tech. If you look at Sagarin, Texas Tech and Oregon and Sagarin are 4 and 5 in the Sagarin ratings, but they are about 2.5 points different. If you're comparing them, that's a bigger gap than Notre Dame to Oregon. It's a bigger gap than Indiana to Oregon. It's a bigger gap than Ohio State to Indiana. Ohio State's still number 1 despite the loss to Indiana. It's around the same gap as Georgia to Alabama. And Georgia beat Alabama by 21. You go a little bit further. If you look at who Texas Tech has played, their best win is number 14 Utah, which they did beat Utah, but again, not a great passing attack, which is my big concern for them. And then they beat BYU twice. Those are their 3 top 30 wins in Sagarin. Their loss was a team outside of the top 40 in Sagarin. And so you compare that to Oregon, they have only had one top 10 team. By the way, BYU's number 22 in Sagarin, below Michigan. So just to give context, Oregon, meanwhile, their loss was by 10 to Indiana, who is the number 1 team in the country. And then they have wins over Penn State, who's 13th. They have a win over Washington at Washington. They're 15th. They have a win at Iowa, 17th. A win against Southern California, USC, 18th. And then they have a win over James Madison, and they're 28th. JMU would be the 4th best team on Texas Tech's schedule. Like that, we're talking levels of difference here in who they've played and who they've consistently played.
Yeah, and I do think the schedule talk is important. I try not to get into it too much just because I do think it can be deceiving, but I definitely think when you talk about the schedule and you look at teams like BYU and Utah being the best teams that they faced, Devin Dampierre and I'm forgetting the BYU quarterback's name, but he's a true freshman. They are nowhere near Dante Moore, right? And I do think there is some thought process about Oregon and some of the defensive lines that they face, because I heard that point today. I think it was Cover 3 that pointed that out today. Penn State and their defensive line gave them a hard time. Iowa and their defensive line gave them a hard time. So I understand that. And that's kind of what gives me the concern of the defensive line for Texas Tech, which I think is top 5 in the country, and the linebackers of them. I think that gives it, but the counter to that is the passing game that I don't think Texas Tech is going to be able to completely shut down. Is Oregon going to be willing to not be as run first of a team if it doesn't work out and go more toward the passing game? I think they'll do whatever they have to do to win, obviously. But I do think it's going to be an interesting matchup to see how it all goes. So, yeah. Any other thoughts on that game before we do our predictions, Zach?
No, I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, you go first. I've done the last few predictions.
I've got 31-17 Oregon. I think it'll be 31-10, and Texas Tech gets a junk score at the end.
I have this one a little bit closer. I have Oregon 27-20. I really respect this Texas Tech front seven. I think it is going to give Oregon some hard times, but overall, I think Oregon comes out with the win in this one. And who knows? I could be completely wrong. We'll see. Texas Tech might have some more turnovers and stuff like that. And yeah, so. All right. Anything else on this game?
Nope.
All right. Very good. Very good. Our last one, and we have to spend very much time on this one. But Georgia favored by 6.5 over Ole Miss. Over under set at 55.5. On FanDuel, Georgia number 3 seed, Ole Miss number 6 seed. They played already once this season. They're going to play again. I hate that we get an SEC on SEC matchup, especially one that's a rematch. Would have liked for the playoff committee to maybe work this out a little bit differently, but I get it. They're trying to do their seeding. It is what it is. What are your thoughts on this one, Zach?
Do you want score predictions? Just
give me a brief thought on, and then score prediction. Yeah.
So I think everybody is expecting Georgia to win this game. Georgia has not been as good as people think they are. And I know I'm one of the people that said that Georgia, I've been impressed by Georgia. If you dig a little deeper into their Georgia Tech win and their win against Alabama in the SEC championship game, they have not been good, particularly offensively. Georgia, their scoring drives, I don't think they had a scoring drive better than 50 yards in that game against Alabama. Like, it was all off of turnovers or a turnover on downs. They were not good offensively. And they were not good offensively against them or against Georgia Tech, who, by the way, Georgia Tech just lost to BYU in the Pop-Tart Bowl, which I think most people were playing in. So I think we can actually evaluate that game and use that as a fair data point. So I say that I know Ole Miss just played Tulane, and I know that Lane Kiffin is gone, but it's really hard to beat a team twice. And I just, again, emotion is an amazing thing. And I just wonder, especially with Pete Golding being more defensively minded, if maybe Ole Miss has a little something to kind of contain Georgia a little bit more than they did last time. I think Ole Miss can win this game.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to give your score prediction.
Oh, you want me to give my sports?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm picking Ole Miss. I'm picking them 35-24.
All right. I would love it if that happens. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening. But I very much hope I'm wrong. I just think Kirby's been here before. As much as I kind of give Kirby crap for, maybe not being the best coach in the nation, like most people think. I get it. I still think he's been here before. I still think that Gunnar Stockton is a reliable quarterback that's going to work the field for you. If Ole Miss had a better overall defense, I might go with Ole Miss in this one. But Pete Golding's the new head coach, but Ole Miss was never, I shouldn't say was never, Ole Miss was not known as a team who was winning games because of their defense before. And I just don't know if I see them coming out in this one and putting up 30 plus points on Georgia. For me, if Ole Miss wins this game, it's going to have to be a low scoring one. And Ole Miss's defense is not going to have to win it for them, but be a huge part of them getting the win. I'd say something in like the low 20s. However, I do think Georgia's going to come out with this one. I think Georgia's going to get the win 31-21. I'm not sure Ole Miss's defense can stop this run attack of Georgia. And I just think Gunnar Stockton's been super efficient. I don't think he has to be a Superman type of guy to win this game. I think he just needs to be efficient, move the ball down the field, hold on to it, and let this Georgia defense not necessarily be the most ferocious defense in the world, because I don't think they are the most ferocious defense in the world this season, but be good enough to stop Ole Miss, especially an Ole Miss team that does not have Lane Kiffin. And I know they had a good offense against Tulane, but they had good offense against Tulane last time. I don't think it was anything super special.
They did score 35 the last time they played Georgia.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin's not there.
Is it bad that I think that's actually a positive?
I don't think it's a positive. I don't like Lane Kiffin either, man, but the guy can scheme up some offense.
Not if you ask Alabama fans. But
well, sure.
I mean,
this season, he's been scheming up some offense for him.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my guns.
Oh yeah, you totally should, and I hope that happens.
I know we were just doing score predictions. There is one major piece of news out there that I think you put a video out there that there was smoke to it. Danton Lynn leaving USC for Penn State.
Yeah, I'm actually bringing Chris on for a video to talk about that. And so I'm going to put out a video like that. You're welcome. Come on if you'd like.
Oh, when are you doing it?
In 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. We'll see. I'm not yawning yet.
Well, hey, there we go. Perfect timing. Well, tell you what, if you're listening on podcast, stick around. You're gonna get that that video or that audio of that video here in your podcast feed. If you're here with us on YouTube, we are going to end the YouTube live stream now, and we appreciate you being here. And you can check out that Penn State video coming out. I'll probably release it tomorrow morning because I don't want to release it in the middle of the night, or maybe I'll release it in the middle of the night. Who knows? Just keep refreshing the page, and you'll eventually find it. So, Zach, anything else that you want to get to before we get out of here?
No, this is great. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's college football playoff.
That it is. All right, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.